Hello students, welcome to the pole science of class 10, and today we will proceed from question number 10, discussing about the important questions and answers from the chapter power sharing. So let us proceed then with question number 10. So what do we learn from the two stories of Belgium and Sri Lanka? So we have already completed the chapter and we have seen that the power sharing arrangement in Belgium is very nicely adopted by the people, whereas in Sri Lanka it was not up to that mark, and that led to the civil war between the Sinhala government and the Sri Lankan Tamils. So regarding that only the question is being asked, that what do we learn from the two stories of Belgium and Sri Lanka. So in Belgium, the leaders have realized that the unity of the country is possible only by respecting the feelings and interests of the different communities and regions. This realization resulted in mutually acceptable arrangements for power sharing. So in case of Belgium, what was the scenario? The scenario was that every community, be it Dutch, French, they have actually realized that insulting other community will not work, but in place of that, respecting the feelings and interest of the other communities living in the country will help them to unite also and to develop also along each other. And whatever this realization was through the people with the other community actually resulted in the development of the country Belgium. So as a result, what happened? They mutually accepted whatever the arrangements were given according to the constitution, because it was around 4 times that from 1970 and between 1993 the constitution of Belgium was amended 4 times. And according to that arrangement, what happened? According to that arrangement, whoever the community was minority or majority in any places or parts of the country, they were actually given equal power sharing arrangements. In the central government also, the seat reserved for the minority community was also same as that of majority community, and in the capital city of Brussels also the power sharing arrangements was made in that way only. So this resulted in the prosperity and development of the country Belgium. Now talking about Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka shows us a contrasting example. It shows us that if majority community wants to force its dominance over others and refuses to share power, it can undermine the unity of their country. The country is still under civil war. Thousands of people of both the communities lost their lives. Many Tamils had to come to our country as refugees. The economic development also received a great setback. So as we have discussed already, that in case of Sri Lanka it is a bit different, because there what happened, the majority Sinhala government dominated the other minority community, that was the Christians, the Sri Lankan Tamils and the Indian Tamils. And due to this only, the Sri Lankan Tamils, who are the native of that place, had to feel alienated like the outsiders in their own country, and they started protesting, and as a result there was civil war between the government and the Sri Lankan Tamils. And the economic development as a result of civil war also received a setback, because before the civil war the economic conditions, the GDP of Sri Lanka was at a very good place, but after the civil war it reached to a certain low. So this was the two stories of Belgium and Sri Lanka. Now moving on to question number 11 is explain the meaning of the terms prudential and moral. So decisions based on prudence, on careful calculation of gains and losses, are called prudential decisions. Prudential decisions are usually contrasted with decisions based purely on moral considerations. Apart from that, prudential reasons stresses that power sharing will bring out better outcomes. So as a result, if we talk about prudential reasons, it actually looks at what better outcome. Whatever the contrasting decisions is taken based on moral considerations, at last it is being assumed that the prudential reasons should always bring out better outcomes. And regarding moral decisions are those decisions which are taken only on moral consideration. Here, careful calculation of gains and losses are not done. Moral reason emphasizes the very act of power sharing as valuable. So, according to prudential, it is denoted to better outcomes, better result, and whereas moral reasons is actually to value power sharing as the most valuable thing. So, these two things are different. When it comes to prudential, it is on better outcomes, and when it comes to moral, it is being treated as valuable. Moving on to the next question, that is question number 12. List the prudential reasons for power sharing. Now, what are the prudential reasons for power sharing? We have to list those. Number 1, power sharing is good because it helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between social groups. So, as we know that in a society or in a country, many social groups are there. So, in order to reduce the conflict, many social groups, between the social groups, power sharing arrangement is very necessary. Number 2, since social conflict often leads to violence and political instability, power sharing is a good way to ensure stability of political order. So, as a result, if conflict arises, suppose that will be social conflict between different communities. So, if social conflict is there, it will lead to violence and political instability. In that case, power sharing comes as an important tool to ensure that stability of political order is maintained. So, it will reduce the violence and political instability. After that, number 3 point, imposing the will of majority community over others may look like an attractive option in the short run, but in the long run it undermines the unity of the nations. And what happens if, according to prudential reasons of power sharing, suppose any majority community tries to dominate the minority community? At that place or at this situation, what will happen? It will be good for shorter period of time, but when it is calculated or seen in a longer version, then it can be assumed that it can hamper the unity of a country. And number 4, tyranny of the majority is not oppressive for the minority. It often brings ruin to the majority as well. So, as the fact related to number 4 point, just like Sri Lanka, where majority was continuously dominating the minority, at that place a civil war took place, and at that time thousands of people were killed on both sides. So, just like that, if that kind of situation is there, then the hamper will be on both the sides, for the minority also and for the majority as well. Clear? So, moving on to the next question. Question number 14. Why did all powers reside in the hands of one person in the past? Or give one argument against power sharing. So, out of these two questions, or two part of the questions, we have to discuss one regarding question number 14. So, for a long time it was believed that all power of a government must reside in one person or group of persons at one place. It was felt that if power to decide was dispersed, it would not be possible to take quick decisions and to enforce them. But these notions have changed with the emergence of democracy. So earlier it was like autocratic or monarchical in nature, where a king was given the power to take decisions on behalf of all the people of that particular country. But with the changing of time, the most popular system in today's world has become the democratic form of government, where the system is of the people, by the people, and for the people, where people are all and they are there to take decisions for the betterment of society also and for the development of each and every individual also. Clear? So with this, I will wind up today's topic and the discussions based on questions and answers. In the next class, we will start discussing about or from question number 15. And before winding up, please make a note down of all these questions and answers in your notebook. Thank you.